Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. It's your boy, your channel name, and today we're diving deep into something we all grapple with: fear. Not just the fleeting kind, but those bone-chilling, paralyzing fears that hold us back from living our absolute best lives. This video is about not just facing them, but about becoming stronger because of them. We're going to turn fear from a cage into a catapult. This video is structured into 10 chapters, each building on the last. Chapter 1 is about understanding your fears. We'll explore the psychology of fear, how it works, and why it's so powerful. Chapter 2 focuses on identifying the source. We'll learn how to dig beneath the surface to understand what is triggering our deepest fears. Chapter 3 is about building a foundation of self-awareness. Knowing ourselves deeply is key to changing our relationship with fear. Chapter 4, we'll delve into reframing your perspective. This involves changing how we interpret our fears, making them seem manageable. Chapter 5 is dedicated to the power of visualization. We'll use mental practice to prepare ourselves for what intimidates us. Chapter 6 covers taking small, consistent steps. It is about breaking down large challenges into smaller parts that can be handled with ease. Chapter 7 focuses on embracing discomfort. We'll delve into growing resilience by stepping outside of our comfort zone. Chapter 8 highlights the role of community. We'll discuss using the support and shared experiences of others as a motivation to press on. Chapter 9 is dedicated to the importance of self-compassion. We'll learn how to treat ourselves with kindness during the growth process. Chapter 10 will look at celebrating your progress, learning the importance of taking the time to observe and celebrate the journey. Finally, I'll give you a full recap with conclusions in the end. Get ready, because this is going to be powerful. Transition to Chapter 1. Chapter 1, understanding your fears. Fear, at its core, is a primal survival mechanism. It's designed to protect us from danger, a deeply ingrained response that's been wired into our brains over millennia of evolution. Think back to our ancestors. They needed that split-second reaction to avoid a predator or a natural disaster. This instantaneous fight or flight response, managed by the amygdala in our brains, was crucial for survival. However, the same biological mechanisms that served us so well in ancient times often become maladaptive in our modern complex world. What was designed to help us dodge a saber-toothed tiger now triggers in response to things like public speaking or job interviews. This evolutionary mismatch is a key to understanding why so many of us are held back by anxieties that do not actually threaten our lives. Today, these outdated fear responses manifest as anxieties about our career, relationships, or even our own potential. The human brain, brilliant as it is, sometimes needs an upgrade in how it interprets the world around us. Understanding this biological basis of fear doesn't make it disappear, but it does give us a first step towards managing it more effectively. We are often told to simply ignore our fears or to suppress them as if that is an effective solution. The issue with this approach is that it tends to push the fear into the subconscious. It's akin to hiding something under the rug. You know it's still there, and it eventually starts to affect you. Current neurological research suggests that avoidance actually reinforces the very neural pathways that fuel our fear, making the problem worse over time. Instead of avoiding, we need to understand the fear response, how our brain processes information, and how past experiences create these emotional reactions. The latest brain imaging techniques, such as fMRI, have revealed the intense neural activity during fear, demonstrating the neurological reality of what we experience. By learning how the brain operates, we get the insights needed to begin making conscious adjustments. It allows us to move from reactive fear to proactive management. This is the foundation upon which our journey begins today, a deep understanding of how fear functions in our neurological system. We need to know what we are up against before we can begin making changes. Transition to Chapter 2. Chapter 2. Identifying the source. Now that we've taken a deep dive into the mechanics of fear, it's time to move on to the next critical step, uncovering its source. What triggers your fears? What are the specific situations or thoughts that send shivers down your spine or create that knot in your stomach? Often, these triggers are not obvious. Sometimes, they are not connected to any real danger, but instead are deeply rooted in past events, learned behaviors, or misinterpreted signals. For example, a fear of public speaking may not stem from a real danger, but from a humiliating experience from childhood, or even a pattern of negative self-talk we learned as children. Understanding how these experiences created a negative association in your brain is essential to unraveling your fear. We need to put on our detective hats and start digging. To start, consider keeping a journal and document the triggers that cause fear and anxious feelings. It's important to examine the thought patterns that accompany your fears. Are you thinking about worst-case scenarios, exaggerating risks, or predicting failures? These negative cognitive biases are incredibly common and act to make our perceived threats seem greater than they actually are. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is a well-researched psychological approach that teaches individuals to recognize and change the distorted thinking patterns that lead to fear. A study in the Journal of Consulting and Clinical Psychology showed that CBT interventions are effective in reducing the severity of anxiety symptoms and the impact of specific fears. It involves identifying specific situations that trigger fear and examining the thoughts associated with those moments. This process can help you begin to separate the real situation from your mental interpretations. Start questioning the validity of your fears. Are they founded in present reality, or are they simply the echoes of the past? By identifying these specific thought patterns, you gain crucial insights and, more importantly, the leverage to begin challenging their validity. This process puts you on the path to transforming your relationship with fear. Transition to Chapter 3. Chapter 3. Building a foundation of self-awareness. Identifying the triggers for our fears is the first step. Now, we have to dig even deeper and understand ourselves. Self-awareness is the cornerstone of lasting change. It's about developing a profound understanding of your personal strengths, weaknesses, values, and beliefs. Without a strong sense of self, fear can easily take root and grow, exploiting our insecurities and vulnerabilities. A lack of self-awareness can lead to us simply reacting to our fears instead of consciously choosing our responses. Self-awareness involves being present, observing our own thoughts and reactions without judgment. This practice can feel strange at first, almost like we are watching ourselves in a movie, but it is a powerful tool to help develop understanding. The more self-aware you are, the easier it will be to recognize when fear is leading the way, and the more capable you will be to choose a different path. Think of self-awareness as a lighthouse in a storm. It illuminates the path, guiding you safely through choppy waters. Self-awareness is not about self-criticism. It's about honest, compassionate reflection. One popular way to begin is with mindfulness meditation, a technique that encourages observing the present moment. This can involve focusing on the breath, observing our physical sensations, or even just watching our thoughts without judgment. Another powerful tool is journaling. Regular journaling can provide a window into your inner world, revealing patterns in thought and behavior that you might not notice otherwise. Write about the days when you were triggered and explore how you felt before, during, and after. This will give a clearer picture of the inner world that you are navigating. By taking the time to look within, we build the strength and self-understanding needed to face our fears. Cultivating self-awareness isn't a one-time event, but rather an ongoing journey. Just as a gardener tends to their plants, we must continuously nurture our inner selves. This continuous self-cultivation allows us to live more intentionally and act in response to our fears rather than reacting. This is the bedrock upon which we begin to transform the challenges in our life. Transition to Chapter 4. Chapter 4. Reframing your perspective. Now that we've gained a deeper understanding of our fears and ourselves, it's time to start changing how we view those fears. This is about perspective. What was once seen as an insurmountable obstacle can be reframed into a challenging opportunity. Reframing is a cognitive technique that involves changing our interpretation of a situation. And when it comes to our fears, it can be the difference between feeling paralyzed by them or being empowered by them. For example, if you are feeling anxious about making a presentation, rather than framing it as a situation where you could mess up, you might reframe it as an opportunity to share your passion and ideas with others. It shifts the internal narrative from fear-based to one of empowerment and growth. We start by observing our interpretations and changing the narrative that we choose to tell ourselves. It's all about being an active participant in constructing your experiences. Research in positive psychology shows that actively reframing negative events can reduce the negative emotional impact they have on our daily lives. One study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology showed that people who actively practice reframing techniques reported lower levels of stress and higher levels of overall well-being. The technique is known as cognitive reappraisal and involves actively altering our emotional response by changing the way we interpret the meaning of a given situation. It's about recognizing our personal power to interpret our own experience. This process doesn't mean we ignore the difficulties, but instead find strength and resilience in how we interpret them. When we look at the difficulties in our life from a different point of view, we develop a powerful tool for turning challenges into opportunities for growth. Instead of running from our fears, we learn to approach them as valuable feedback and a source of growth. The process is not about denying the existence of negative emotions, but choosing how we allow them to impact our lives. Transition to Chapter 5. Chapter 5. The power of visualization. With our perspective realigned, now we will use the power of our imagination and harness visualization techniques. Visualization is a powerful mental tool that uses your imagination to practice and prepare for challenging situations, including the ones that trigger your fears. It is about creating mental imagery of yourself successfully navigating a feared situation, focusing on the details of how it feels, what you see, and the emotions you would have. By doing this, you can begin to reprogram your brain's response to the event. This is not a fanciful exercise, but instead one that is deeply rooted in neuroscience. The brain does not differentiate between a real and vividly imagined experience, especially when engaging multiple senses. By creating a positive mental experience, we start to build a new association in the brain. This mental imagery begins to build a new map, changing the neural pathways and preparing you for success in the real world. Studies in sports psychology have demonstrated the effectiveness of visualization in improving athletic performance. When athletes mentally practice their routines, it activates the same brain regions as the actual physical performance. It provides a powerful mental rehearsal of the tasks they are about to perform. This kind of practice has been shown to lead to improved execution and increased confidence in athletes. The same principles can be applied to any situation that triggers your fear. It's not about denying the fear, but preparing yourself by experiencing the situation in a successful context. Visualization can be performed in many ways. Some people prefer to create a detailed scene complete with sights, sounds, and even smells, while others might focus on the specific sensations associated with successfully overcoming their fears. You could imagine yourself making the presentation with poise and confidence, or engaging in a difficult conversation with calm and clarity. The key is to consistently use visualization as a tool to reprogram your brain's response to the situation and build the internal confidence needed to conquer your fears. Transition to Chapter 6. Chapter 6. Taking small, consistent steps. At this point, we are ready to move forward and implement the tools we have developed and take steps into the real world. The key to overcoming our fears is often not found in grand gestures, but in small, consistent steps. Trying to conquer your greatest fear all at once can feel overwhelming, often leading to even more fear and resistance. Instead, breaking down your challenges into manageable pieces allows us to build confidence and momentum step by step. It is important to note that these steps should be consistent and deliberate. It's like climbing a staircase. We do not leap to the top, but instead, we take each step in order. This gives us consistent forward momentum. This method is about creating sustainable change through continuous action. The strategy of taking small, incremental steps is supported by research in behavioral psychology. Gradual exposure therapy, a widely used method in treating phobias and anxiety disorders, relies on this principle. It involves exposing people to their fears in a controlled and systematic way. By starting with less intimidating situations, people build their tolerance to anxiety and gain confidence in handling difficult situations. The key is to make these steps small enough that they are achievable. Each small success builds a foundation for the next, and gradually reduces the fear associated with the overall challenge. The process is not about making a grand leap, but about moving consistently forward, one step at a time. For example, if public speaking is a deep-seated fear, the first step might be to simply practice in front of a mirror or record yourself speaking. Then, the next step could be to speak to a friend or family member, then to a small group, and eventually to a larger audience. The process is gradual and consistent, building resilience and confidence along the way. It's a slow burn, but one that produces a very powerful transformation over time. Transition to Chapter 7. Chapter 7. Embracing discomfort. As we make our way through the journey of overcoming our fears, we have to get comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable. Personal growth always requires that we stretch past our current limits and embrace the feelings associated with discomfort. Staying in our comfort zone might feel safe, but it is also where we remain stagnant. It's like a muscle that gets stronger only when it is challenged. Our capacity to grow and adapt is increased when we allow ourselves to experience discomfort. This isn't about seeking out suffering. It's about developing resilience by stepping outside of what is easy and learning to navigate the challenges of our own growth. When we step outside of our comfort zone, we build an internal resilience that provides us with strength and fortitude as we move through life. Research has demonstrated a strong link between the willingness to experience discomfort and the capacity for personal growth and overall well-being. In particular, One research publication in Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin has indicated that actively engaging with discomfort-related experiences significantly improves an individual's resilience and adaptability to challenging situations. When we embrace discomfort, we stop seeing it as a threat, but as a signal of growth. We start to associate discomfort with development and not as a sign of failure. This internal change is a powerful catalyst for transformation. Start by choosing small things that push you slightly outside your comfort zone and do them regularly. For example, if you tend to avoid difficult conversations, begin engaging in them with more frequency. If you feel anxious in social situations, start by saying hello to the people you pass on the street. This might sound simple, but it is a powerful way to slowly build your resilience to the discomfort that comes with change. Embracing discomfort is not about getting rid of fear. It's about choosing to not let fear control our actions. We build an inner strength by stepping forward, one discomfort at a time. Transition to Chapter 8. Chapter 8. The role of community. Overcoming our fears is an intensely personal journey, but we do not need to do it alone. The role of community and social support is paramount in this process. Connecting with others who understand and support your journey provides invaluable encouragement and a sense of belonging. Human beings are social creatures, and we are not meant to navigate through our challenges in isolation. The support of a community offers a powerful external resource for personal growth. Sharing your vulnerabilities with others who have gone through similar experiences is important. This allows us to feel less alone and see that our fears are not unique. The understanding and support we find in community offers the strength we need to keep going, especially during moments of doubt or setbacks. The positive impact of social support on mental health and well-being has been extensively studied. Research in social science and medicine and other journals consistently demonstrates that social support networks are essential for managing stress and fostering resilience. A sense of belonging to a supportive community reduces the feelings of isolation and enhances our capacity to cope with the obstacles we face. Joining a group or community related to your fears allows you to share your challenges, hear from other people's experiences, and feel the support of others who understand what you're going through. These connections give us encouragement and remind us that growth is often a shared journey. These communities might range from online forums to in-person support groups. The key is to find an environment where you feel safe, understood, and supported. This will give you the support system necessary to keep moving forward, even in the face of challenges. The strength we find in community can help us face the fears that we have struggled with alone. Transition to Chapter 9. Chapter 9. The importance of self-compassion. While striving to overcome our fears, it is equally essential to treat ourselves with kindness and understanding. Self-compassion is about extending the same level of understanding and support to yourself that you would offer to a friend. Self-criticism is often our go-to reaction to mistakes and setbacks, but what we actually need is to embrace the power of self-compassion. This isn't about making excuses, it's about recognizing that mistakes are part of the learning process. When we treat ourselves with compassion, we become more resilient, less reactive, and ultimately more effective in handling the challenges we face. Self-compassion isn't a sign of weakness, but instead a sign of inner strength. It is the key to transforming our relationship with our own lives. Research in psychology has shown that self-compassion is associated with greater emotional well-being, resilience, and overall happiness. It allows us to move from reactive self-criticism to accepting the reality of our challenges with kindness. Studies published in Mindfulness and Journal of Personality and Social Psychology consistently demonstrate that people who have higher self-compassion tend to be more resilient to setbacks, report lower levels of anxiety and depression, and have a better overall sense of well-being. To practice self-compassion, start by recognizing the inner critic. This is the part of you that tends to judge and criticize you. When you hear that critical voice, acknowledge it, but instead respond with kindness and understanding. Talk to yourself the way you would talk to a friend going through the same experience. This is a crucial step in building an effective long-term strategy for coping with and conquering your fears. Self-compassion gives us the strength to keep moving forward. It is a key ingredient for sustained growth and positive change. Transition to Chapter 10. Chapter 10. Celebrating your progress. Finally, as we move forward on the journey of overcoming our fears, we must take time to celebrate the progress we make along the way. Often, we are so focused on the next challenge that we neglect to acknowledge how far we have come. Taking the time to acknowledge our growth and achievements is not just a feel-good exercise, it's a vital element of positive change. When we celebrate progress, no matter how small, we reinforce positive patterns in our brain. This acknowledgement of the progress that you have made is a reminder of your strength and resilience. Celebrating your progress also fosters a sense of satisfaction and keeps you motivated to continue moving forward. The process of change can often feel like a marathon, and it is important to celebrate every milestone along the path. The importance of recognizing achievements and celebrating successes is well documented in the field of motivational psychology. The celebration of small achievements has been shown to positively affect motivation and encourage a growth mindset. Rewarding yourself for the efforts that you have made is an essential part of reinforcing the positive changes you are working to cultivate. Start by identifying the things you have accomplished that were previously challenges. This can be as simple as having a difficult conversation that you would normally avoid, or it could be successfully facing a situation you would have normally run from. These might be small on the surface, but they represent a huge shift in your inner world and the process you have gone through. The key is to intentionally pause, acknowledge, and celebrate your growth. Celebrating your progress can involve treating yourself to something special, reflecting on what you have learned, or sharing your successes with others. The more we take the time to recognize our achievements, the more we are reinforcing the path forward and allowing us to experience the fulfillment of our own growth. Conclusion. And there you have it, everyone. 10 key steps to becoming stronger than your deepest fears. We've explored the science of fear, dove deep into our triggers, learned to reframe our perspective, visualize success, taken small, consistent steps, embraced discomfort, sought the support of community, shown ourselves compassion, and celebrated our progress. This journey is not a sprint, but a marathon. There will be days when it feels easy, and other days when it feels like an uphill battle. The key is to stay consistent, celebrate every small win, and keep moving forward with compassion and understanding. Remember, you have the strength within you to transform your fears into fuel for growth. Outro music with upbeat, inspiring melody. Final message on screen. You are stronger than your fears, and conquer fear and motivation, self-improvement. Conclusions. The journey of becoming stronger than our fears is a profoundly transformative process that requires self-awareness, resilience, and a deep commitment to personal growth. Over the course of this video, we've explored that fear isn't an immutable obstacle, but a deeply rooted biological mechanism that can be managed and transformed. By first understanding the mechanisms of our fears, we begin to identify their triggers and cultivate self-awareness that allows us to respond consciously rather than reactively. Through reframing techniques, visualization, and the courage to take small but consistent steps, we begin to shift our relationship with fear. Embracing discomfort, building a community of support, and practicing self-compassion are all essential steps in developing our inner strength. Celebrating progress, no matter how small, reinforces positive changes and allows us to experience the profound joy of personal growth. Ultimately, this is a journey of empowerment and self-discovery, and these conclusions are simply the starting line.